In this video, I will be talking about how cellular materials move in and out of the cell. Remember, a cell is the smallest unit of an organism that can carry on the functions of life. It is in the cell that many important processes occur. Think about everyday activities that you perform without even knowing it. You breathe, drink water, eat food, your heart continues to pump throughout your body. Have you ever thought about how these things occur? In this video, we will discuss the cell processes that allow you to go throughout life without even thinking about when you took your last breath. Things must be transported in and out of the cell. Remember, the cell membrane is the part of the cell that allows things in and out. For example, it allows oxygen in and carbon dioxide out of the cell in order to give the cell what it needs and remove waste that it does not need. The cell membrane acts like a sort of screen. It is selectively permeable or semi-permeable membrane, which means that it allows some things to enter and leave the cell while keeping other things outside or inside the cell. It is kind of like a screen door that lets air in but keeps bugs out. There are two types of transport that can occur in the cell, passive and active. Passive transport is the movement of substances through the cell membrane without the use of energy. The cell does not use any energy when passive transport is occurring. Have you ever heard of a passive person? This is someone who is really chill and relaxed and doesn't exert his or herself too much. That is how we can remember that passive transport does not use any energy. There are three types of passive transport that we will discuss. The first is diffusion. Diffusion is a type of passive transport where there is a random movement of molecules from an area where there is relatively more of them to an area where there is relatively less. In other words, when diffusion happens, molecules will continue to move until they are spread out evenly in the space that they are contained in. Diffusion will continue to happen until the number of molecules is equal in the entire area. This is when equilibrium has been reached. An example of diffusion is if I were to spray a bottle of perfume in the room. The molecules will spread throughout the room until they reach equilibrium, or until the molecules are even throughout the entire room. If the room is big enough, the molecules will be so spread out that eventually you will not be able to smell the perfume anymore. So here is a picture of diffusion. You can see that there are more molecules in this area than in this area. That's what it means by high concentration and low concentration. High concentration is just a high number of molecules. Low concentration is just a low number of molecules. So what will happen is a few of these molecules will go over here until there's an even number on this side and on this side. Osmosis is essentially the same thing as diffusion, except it happens in water. Water molecules will move from an area of high concentration, or lots of molecules, to an area of low concentration, or a small number of molecules, until there is the same number of molecules everywhere. So like this picture shows, these molecules are going to continue to move over here until there is an even number right here. The last type of passive transport is called facilitated diffusion. And this occurs with the help of something called transport proteins in the cell membrane of the cell. This type of diffusion happens when there are large molecules that need to enter or exit the cell, and they cannot do so without the help of transport proteins. Although transport proteins are used, the cell still does not use energy in facilitated diffusion. Active transport is when energy is required to move materials through a cell membrane. This involves transport proteins. What happens is that a transport protein binds with the particle needing transport, and cellular energy is used to move it through the cell membrane. This last slide is simply a review of what we've talked about. Answer these questions to yourself to make sure you understand what was discussed in the video. It might be a good idea to review any material you still do not understand. If you have questions, please write them at the bottom of your notes. Thank you.